If you're going to be using a kiddie pool for your dog this summer, there are a couple of things to consider to make sure this is a smooth experience for your dog and for you, starting with what pool you're going to be choosing. There are a wide variety of options of kiddie pools, everything from a small hardshell pool to a larger plastic or canvas-sided pool that's easy to collapse down in between uses. So if you are going to be jumping in and you're going to be using a smaller hard-shell pool, that's going to be really good for filling up and taking down in between uses. That means the sun will not be on it all day, you're not going to have a lot of algae growing, and it's not going to ruin the grass underneath. Keep in mind during the summer, if you are leaving a pool of any size or structure out in your lawn, anything beneath it is probably going to not survive very well with the sun and the grass in the summer. So if you are going to keep a pool out, you're going to need to move it around an awful lot, or you're going to want to put that pool somewhere where it is not going to scorch the grass underneath it. So be smart about your placement here. Having those tiny hard-shelled kiddie pools are really nice because your dog can physically jump in and out without doing a ton of damage. If, however, you have a big dog or a very rough dog and they're just slamming into the side of it, or you as the human accidentally step on it, fall, trip, whatever, you could crack that pool. If you do have a crack in that hard shell pool, that could be dangerous to your dog, so you have to pay attention. You have to be careful with that. It also obviously is going to leak, so wherever your pool is, that water is going to start leaking out of it. Hard shell pools are really nice, but they tend to be shorter, so they are not as full of water, and they're usually not very wide. So this is good for dogs who are attentive around water, smaller sized dogs, or if you just need to cool off and you don't have the capacity to keep a larger kiddie pool up for a prolonged period of time. You can also get those plastic and or canvas pools that are easily collapsed. So these are meant to be small and contained when you're done with them and be pretty big when you are using them. Now, the little plastic ones tend to be very easily bent in or out, so you might have to lift your dog in and out. You want to make sure you're stepping in and out because any movement, even if your dog has very low rear end awareness, if they back into the side, that could just collapse the entire pool. So you got to be very careful when you're doing that. My dogs are brand new to pools. They're puppies. They just started figuring out pools and swimming. Like, this is their first adult summer. And so they don't have great rear end awareness. One of them is very likely to back into it. And so I actually have a tie line that I attach to my dog's collar, and I just submerge it in the water. I can tie it around my waist if my dog had a propensity to run around, but she doesn't. She loves the water so much. She will always stay in that pool. But this way I have a little bit of the ability to keep her where I need to, or to move her if I can't get a hold of her, because I am in the larger pool with her, so that I can play with her as well. And we could do different trainings and different commands and different practices and just have some fun in the water, where I can't do that in that hard shell little pool. So with the plastic ones, very easily tipped in or out. You just have to be careful with it. And of course, there are the canvas ones, which are really nice. If you are going to be looking for a slightly larger kiddie pool, I do recommend one with a plug near the bottom so that you can easily drain it out. Not all of them have it. The ones that I have right now do not, but I have my eye on one that I really want, that I'm going to be investing in the not too distant future, now that I know my dogs for sure really like these pools. And so you have to be very careful with that. I do have a collapsible canvas ball pit pool, and those are really nice. I cannot say enough good things about them. It's not designed for water, so it doesn't have a plug in the bottom, but it's so easy to clean, it is so easy to take care of, and it is so easy to store. My plastic one is not going to be quite as easy to store. So you are looking for things that are going to have, with these bigger ones, a bigger depth, so a higher volume of water. So with these slightly larger pools, you are going to probably want to keep that up more than just a day, because filling that, draining it, and refilling it again and again and again, day after day, can really be costly to your water bill. So with that, you want to make sure you're keeping it not on the grass. If you are keeping it on the concrete, make sure the concrete is in the shade. So put up umbrellas, put up shades, do something, or make sure you're putting water on the concrete before you, and more importantly, your dog is walking on it, because that concrete is going to get really hot. I do like the idea of putting umbrellas or shades around the pool so that it is not blinding to you. We don't want you to get sunburned. We don't want to burn out your eyes or your dog's eyes. And so making sure there's some element of shade is usually pretty nice. But you can also leave that out in the sun so that it heats up the water, so it's not quite as cold. And if it's a pool that stays up, as you're not coming down every day, this is going to allow you to not have to get into direct cold hose water. So there are options here, and you just want to make sure you're aware of what type of pool you're getting, how big that pool is going to be, how much space it is, and whether or not you're going to be getting in or out with your dog or just interacting from the outside as you are playing. Then you want to consider the toys you're going to put in the water. Your dog needs something to do, because if they don't have something to do, they're just going to drink all the water. They might jump in and out of the pool. You have to be the one facilitating the enrichment, the engagement, and what's happening inside of that pool. So having floating toys, really great. We've done videos on that. Having a rubber ball, some that float, some that sink, really good idea. Dive sticks, depending on what they are and what they're made of, can be really fun for your dog, especially if your dog likes to dive into the water and find things on the bottom and come back up. My dog Lucy loves to blow bubbles inside of our pool. She will shove her head down to get her toy and she will blow bubbles. She'll come up, she'll shake it off, and she's the happiest dog in the world to repeat that process over and over again. Whereas Gemma is just getting used to the water. She is not playing. She is not doing anything, but she has gotten to the point of putting all of her feet on the ground instead of holding one up out of the water. So she's getting more comfortable with it. But right now she doesn't need a lot of engagement because she's still dealing with all the sensory things going on around her and making sure that she is comfortable being in that water with me. So I am there. I'm giving her a little bit of a drink. I'm petting her. I'm teaching her. I'm encouraging her. And I'm fostering that respect and that not a need for fear to make sure she is comfortable around that water. Whereas Lucy, high action, high volume, high intensity, that girl needs something to do. So making sure you have some toys, even if your dog is not a water dog, have some things around just so they can kind of get used to things floating on the water, things being in the water, because the more that they learn, the more that they grow. They could have the option to play, but it also means that they are going to have the option of just being aware of things moving and things in the water in case they go to a pond or a lake or a stream or something where there's more than just that static pool water in your backyard. So with that in mind, you want to make sure that you are doing something to keep your dog inside of the pool. And that might mean making sure their recall is really, really good. If they're good at their commands, awesome. You may want to have some kind of leash on them. I do recommend either a biothane leash so that it is like a waterproof thing. It's not gonna get smelly and disgusting, or having some kind of like plastic biothane lead that is going to work for you. I actually did that with my dogs. I had a longer rope. I think I would probably go with something shorter, but when I originally took them out the very first time, I wrapped it around myself as if it was a hands-free leash. And so then I got in the pool with them and I was able to play with them. If you are in a fenced-in yard and you've got a pool, then you're good to go. My kiddie pool, my tiny one, the hard plastic shell one, is in my front yard, and that is a whole fenced-in area. They can't go anywhere. So then they have the options of running, playing. They can get in the water, get out of the water, jump around. They can find their toys. They can go in the sprinklers or the splash pads or whatever else I have out for them. We've done a whole video on turning your yard into a water park, so make sure you check that out. But making sure that I have a safe space for them to be is incredibly important. And then it comes down to what's going to work best for you, for your lifestyle, for your water bill, and for your dog's comfort. What type of pool do they need to be in? Do they need something bigger? Or do they need something smaller? Are you going to introduce it in steps? This is what you're going to be working on over the next couple of weeks, developing their skills and their awareness and their understanding of swimming. And you're going to build up that respect for the water and that enjoyment of the water as well. Drop your questions down below on your kiddie pools, on how you can create a beautiful water park for your dog in your front yard, backyard, side yard, wherever, or tips and tricks for helping your dog to get used to the water. I have been doing this my entire life. I've had water dogs, but we've had to teach them how to have that respect and enjoyment for the water as well. And I do have a dog that absolutely despises it. She's a tiny little cat. She's a dog, but she's a cat in a dog's body. And I have gone through the iterations with ponds and lakes and streams and oceans and pools and kiddie pools of teaching dogs what they can and cannot do, how to be safe, how to enjoy it, and what happens if they don't enjoy it, to make sure that they are still feeling good and comfortable about being around the water, even if they're not going to go in the water. So drop your questions down below. We'll see you in tomorrow's daily episode, helping you navigate the world of being a dog parent, to help you level up for your pup, to give them the best life possible with the most ease for you. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.